This is the Classic Hits 93.1 Comedy Couch. Hi, I'm Frank Murphy. Carl Labove is our guest today, one of the outlaws of comedy. Awesome to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having a show to come sit in on.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of seeing you, maybe last time you were in town, maybe before that, about 2 years ago. I happened to be at the club just to be there,
right.
And you were the headliner, so I didn't really have any preconceived notions. I just saw you with nothing.
Right.
And I was blown away with how good you were. I really
thanks.
enjoyed the show.
Thanks.
And since then, I've read up about your past with the Outlaws of Comedy. Tell us about your first stand-up gig. Your first time, and Sam Kinison walks up to you. I want to hear that.
Oh well, first of all, when it's interesting to go to a club and they introduce you as one of the Outlaws of Comedy, and as a performer sitting in the back,
yeah,
I know that most of the crowd has no idea what that means. Mm-hmm. It just sounds good
because they're younger than me.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, at least when you're there, I know we can talk about. Remember when planes were invented?
Well, hey, I worked in radio when Kinison did the radio tour.
Okay.
So I was just, I was on the other out there somewhere when he came through and
right.
did the morning interview, at the station I was
right.
at. Yeah. So
well,
I remember him.
Back when I found stand-up, I was 20,
mm-hmm.
and when I went to go see what stand-up was like, it was in Texas, and there were no comedy clubs yet. So that original group of guys that I met, like the first time I did it, I found what I really wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought, because I'm a musician also, and at the time I lived on the streets playing guitar during the day, making enough money to eat and then shower in a bathroom and then go try stand-up. Mm-hmm. And when I found that expression, I went, it's like songwriting, with a twist. Where's the humor in me that I have to stay true to, so that when an audience sees it and really likes it, it's like in your songs, like I like where you're coming from. So I dug that part of it.
That's something I could relate to, the truth in comedy, comedy and truth idea.
Yeah, if you're talking about stuff that you've lived and you've seen, and people start to relate to it, then you've got something,
mm-hmm.
And you have to develop it. So I love that part of it. And I met Sam and Bill Hicks and a number of other guys that went on to be writers. Riley Barber worked with MTV for 15 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys, but there was only 12 of us. So we bonded instantly. They said, listen, we're going to open this tryout night and turn it into a part of our club, which was a theater they had. And it was a 60-seat comedy theater. And within 2 months, we sold out every night.
Oh, that's great.
So we had a 6-night-a-week gig. And you had to fight for the weekend because you got paid $25 per show. So, but
some things never change in comedy, right?
So to do that for a living, and we did all the gigs. One of my favorites was Hicks and Kinison and myself drove 2 hours to Clute, Texas, which was the home of the KKK. And we went out there and did a disco, and all three of us got booed off.
Yeah,
and I was in the bathroom. I went on last, and I was in the bathroom, and a guy walked behind me, and I felt a nuzzle in my back. And the guy goes, "You think you're pretty funny, don't you?" My girlfriend thinks you're funny, but I don't.
Oh, crap.
And just in that moment, my father had chosen that night to come see me do stand-up for the first time. And he happened to be in the stall, and he kicked the door open. He kicked the door open. This guy fell to the floor. A gun fell on the floor. He got up. My dad went screaming and running and wailing at him. The guy got out of the bathroom, and my dad picks up a gun, turns to me, and he goes, "Well, it might not have been a very funny show, but at least you got a gun out of it." So I drove home with a gun with Hicks and my dad
awesome.
Waving goodbye as he gave me a gun.
All right, now Hicks, of course.
So anyway, that group of guys was eventually called the Texas Outlaws.
Okay.
And we basically started comedy, the first comedy club in Texas.
Nice.
So every state has their first story of when clubs started to grow.
I wanted to tell you real quick, the time that Hicks came around to do radio, I remember vividly seeing him wearing a U.S. Postal Service hat that had a bloody bullet hole
on the side of it.
you probably seen that.
No, that's a great idea.
Because at the time, going postal was a thing.
Big phrase. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so now you found truth in comedy, and also you have something in common with Kinison with the Pentecostal background.
Right.
And that was what he came from, was that preaching background, but you related to that.
Sure did. My dad was an assistant pastor at a Pentecostal church growing up. And
I need you to explain snake handling to me. I don't understand that. They have that here.
I've only seen it once, and it wasn't at a church I went to. We went to a cousin's church for 2 seconds, then we walked back out.
All right, because we have that here in East Tennessee. There's a church on La Follette. It's been in the news lately, and I don't.
Well, supposedly, if your faith is strong enough, the snake won't bite you. And if it does bite you, you got to prove it every Sunday.
Okay, so if the
How
witch...
how much do you love God? Do you love him? Here's the scorpions. Now, if he stings you in the neck,
if we hold her
you're a
underwater
deceiver.
and she drowns, wait.
Then she's a witch. Dunk her. Yeah, exactly.
Same concept.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, same concept.
All
It's,
right.
it's all fear-based.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to just test you every single time. Can I prove it with my lifestyle? Nope. You got to come in here and hold a snake. Yeah. So I've seen that once. But what I loved about it as a little boy growing up in it is watching adults flap around like salmon on Sunday, because that was funny to me. You know, to see these people in business all week long, you know, on Sunday, and they're speaking in tongues. And what I always loved about speaking in tongues is somebody has to translate. And so the pastor will usually translate.
This sounds like an improv game we do.
It is, exactly.
Okay, you just make it up.
So imagine the guy or the woman who, in church, there's the song parts.
All right.
And then Sister Johnson's going to come up and sing a song for us. But Sister Johnson starts to hog it because she nailed it that one particular Sunday, so she works on 2 more shows.
She owns it now, yeah.
Yeah, and then she turns into the regular performer, and you're like, oh, she's horrible. She misses all of her high notes. Yeah, but it's her moment to be a star, right?
Yeah.
It's her moment to be a star. Well, there's another guy that he starts to translate.
Okay.
Okay, so he'll try to beat the pastor into translating.
So all right, so if I'm flopping around going, and
then the pastor will say, and what he's saying is God is in every one of us, and he will walk ahead of you, and he will stop danger, he will stop fear, and he'll translate to the congregation. And, okay. But then the other guy who's been watching this for a couple of months, he wants to get involved.
Oh, naturally.
So he'll beat the pastor to the translation.
That's not right.
Well, hey,
that's not his gig.
It's an open church.
That's heckling.
Yeah, exactly. It's church heckling.
Yeah.
So I caught that as a kid.
All right.
You know, that one guy who was just a little off.
You should go up to him with a gun and say, you think you're holy? My girlfriend thinks you're holy.
Yeah.
So you caught this guy, the heckler, the church heckler.
So I noticed that people starved for attention would try to find a space to break in, to translate, or to speak in tongues.
Okay.
You got to pick your character.
Right. Oh, like in pro wrestling?
You got to pick your character. So, like my mom eventually developed Christian Tourette's.
What's that?
Well, we'd be at I'd go to visit her, we'd go to Walmart, and she'd see a sale and go, Jesus Christ, Lord have mercy. And it's like, Mom, it's just a sale. It's 20% off.
It ends in 88 cents. It's got to be a discount. Nowhere else.
Hallelujah.
Nowhere else does it end in 88. Everywhere else it's 99.
It was burst, surprising burst, where you would get scared.
You've got to go see Carl Labove. He's this weekend at Side Splitters Comedy Club. SidesplittersComedy.com is where you get your tickets online at a good price. So you talk about relatable stuff. I love your hotel stuff. I love your wildebeest stuff. There's so much great material. How long? I mean, you probably have enough to do.
Well, I've been writing for 35 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all in there. I was at a show last week, and I ended it on something that just popped in my head.
Really?
And and a kid walks up to me and he goes, man, the way you ended that show, where did that come from? I go, you got to realize I've been doing this so long. He goes, the way it was like a war bit about how to end the wars.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was brilliant. And I go, well, Greg, I did it in 91 when we invaded.
The previous war.
And you let it go.
That's pretty bad.
Because it's a previous war bit. And what I did is I saw the idea. I go, well, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
And I twisted it and put something new into it. And
that's
this
like,
kid
you're like the new
just
Bob Hope. Let me tell you about that Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah, that Nixon's crazy. But all it was just a flip of something I've already lived in life. Awesome. And now people are living it again. And it works. So it was just an improv with a little bit of
a history,
life experience behind it. Yeah.
All right, and you've got a lot of life experience.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't missed too much.
Well, I was moved by the story of many people who have died in your arms.
Yes.
But for me, I'm at 0.
Yeah, don't shake my hand. That's how it starts. Hey, it's been.
But I mean, you've 3, 4 people passed away?
Actually, the number's gone up to 7.
7.
I've been around 7 people at the time of death, or found somebody that was dying. Yeah.
And how does that affect you as the person who's still thereafter?
You know what? That's a good question. I think what it's done is it's made me fearless. I know it all ends.
Yeah.
I've seen 7 of them, and it's going to happen to all of us, so why not live fearlessly? I mean, do what you love to do, and don't be afraid to do it, because you get, what, 1 shot or 2 shots at life?
Yeah. I think just 1.
If you believe in reincarnation, maybe 2.
Well,
or 7.
I don't know. Need.
But
until you reach
all
Nirvana.
I know is you get 1 for sure, and the other ones you shouldn't remember.
It's yo run. You only reincarnate until Nirvana.
Yeah. So why not do it with, fearlessness?
Yeah.
Most people are afraid to go for the dream. Most people are afraid to start a business. Most people are afraid to get into a relationship. It's all fear.
Yeah. Face the fear.
I think all these experiences have made me absolutely lose fear.
That's what a lot of stand-ups are able to do, overcome. I mean, for the average Joe, speaking in public is, they say, the bigger fear than dying.
Right.
But every stand-up comedian is able to conquer that fear because there's some other need in you that is met.
Well, it's communication.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also takes you, what, 4 or 5 years? The old term, do you really find yourself after 5 years?
Yeah.
And you do, because it's an experience you're constantly working on. Like when I was 12, I was horrible at masturbation. 5 years later, phenomenal.
Really? Oh. Well, that's good. I guess there's still time for all of us.
Yeah. Well, if you work on anything long enough.
Well, see, now I was thinking of golf. If you do 10,000 strokes, but maybe I misunderstood. Right. Maybe they weren't talking about golf. Right. I assumed that's what they were talking about.
Yeah, but the whole thing is conquering fear has always been something that my dad raised me very positively.
Yeah.
And would push me along. And so when I was in sports and I wasn't good as the other guys, then I developed something I was real good at in the sport.
Yeah.
Stand-up, getting over the fear of, you're funny at the party, but how do you turn that to something where it looks so natural on stage? Well, and even though I've done it 35 years, I'm still finding things every couple of years that completely changes me.
But a party conversation, people you're talking to are very open to you. In a stand-up, you've got to defeat them. You've got to break through.
In 2 minutes, how do you make them drop their arms and go, oh, that's one of our buddies. That guy reminds me of my brother or my cousin.
Exactly.
And that's the trick of it, so that you can pull them into who you are.
The relatability.
By showing them who you are right off the bat.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's not a character. You're just breaking it down and opening it up so fast that they go, I trust him. Mm-hmm. Because what you're saying is kind of honest and funny at the same time.
Oh, that's brilliant.
That's the trick of it. But I found that 10 years ago.
Oh,
you know
wow.
what I mean?
After doing it for 25.
Because that's always what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Because of the guys I loved in stand-up and watching them.
Well, I mean, if you look at some of the historic stand-ups, like let's say a George Carlin, for example, who was nothing but truth at the end. His early days, you wouldn't even know it was him, the hippy-dippy weatherman.
Exactly.
And some of that
he
other
constantly
stuff.
grew also.
Yeah.
I just watched one of his specials the other night from '99. I missed him and I thought I'd watch it. I got to know him.
Yeah.
And I missed him and I turned it on and I just watched that rapid fire truth.
Yeah.
He just didn't stop. He didn't care what you thought. And that's a great place to get to. It comes with age and experience and fearlessness.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. I'm crying in my living room watching old Pryor, just loving it.
Oh, wow. Pryor or Carlin?
Oh, Carlin, but Pryor too. Pryor was, my story on Pryor?
No, what?
I've been doing, my dad raised me on
You don't want
Richard
to put
Pryor.
him out? What do you
My dad raised me on Pryor. My dad raised me on some Pryor, right?
Okay.
He loved Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
I did too. I grew into him.
Yeah.
So I go to the Comedy Store, 22 probably. Mitzi, Paulie's mom.
Right.
She runs the world famous Comedy Store. Well, she likes me, and she's trying to find a spot for me there. She knows I'm growing, and I'm eventually going to turn into something that she wants to see on her stages. So I'm honored by it.
Yeah.
So Richard Pryor starts coming in at 12 o'clock at night, working on a new set. Live on the Sunset Strip was the concert film he did.
Oh, wow.
So she comes to me and she goes, Carl, I want you to do me a favor. When Richie comes in, I want you to take care of him, make sure he's got his waters.
But your Mitzi Shore sounds like Liberace, just FYI.
No. And Louis Anderson.
Yes. Oh, God.
And Roseanne.
Oh, no kidding.
So
yes.
years later, I walked into the comedy club and it's Mitzi, Roseanne, and Louis Anderson in the booth. And I walked in and she goes, Carl, I haven't seen you in a long time. And Louis goes, I know, I haven't seen you either. And Roseanne goes, yeah, you look like you're working out or something. Yeah, that was... It was all 3 of them.
It was all 3 of them.
All 3 of them. So my job is to make sure that Richard Pryor's comfortable before he goes on stage. So he would hide in a stairwell that was dark.
Okay.
He would go over his thoughts. He was only doing 5 minutes for the first couple of days, and then he would 10,
All right.
15, so forth over the course of a
Yeah,
month.
because you got to build up to it.
So he goes, Carl, can I get a glass of water, no ice? Sure, I'll be right back. I'd go get it, come back, just stand at the bottom of the stairwell. So after the third night of me being with him and telling him who was on stage and him going up and doing it, me walking into his car, the third night, someone goes, hey, there's a gold Rolls Royce in the parking lot. Someone yells out, Richard Pryor's here.
All right.
So now all the comics are starting to come in to watch him work out. So I come down the hallway and I see him and he goes, hey, Carl, if I could just get a water, I go, I know where you'll be. I'll be there in just a second. And so I ran off to this is before cell phones, so I ran off to the payphone. And I called Texas, which is 2 hours ahead. So if it's 12 now, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I wake my father up. I go, Dad. Yeah. I go, Dad, Carl, sorry for waking you. I just wanted to tell you, Richard Pryor knows my name. Click. And then I ran down.
How awesome.
Yeah.
How awesome.
So I got to watch him work that out. But there's another lesson of watching a guy talk about stuff in his real life.
Yeah.
The things he went through. The stuff that didn't make the show is the stuff that you're impressed by.
No kidding.
Talking about how he was treated as a little boy. His mom was a prostitute. He never knew his father. The mafia ran the brothel.
Wow.
The things he went through as a kid.
Yeah.
And then you watch him go, nah, I'm not going to do that in a show. But you heard it. It was true stories,
Wow.
So those were great lessons as a pup.
All right, you got to go this weekend to Side Splitters Comedy Club and check out Carl Labove. He's a genius, he's an outlaw, he's all of these things, and he's got so much life experience that is able to translate. Well, actually, the great thing about the stage is you're talking about our lives because we relate to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily tell showbiz stories because you can tell,
real life stories.
Real life stories.
I've been through hell and I
Yeah.
survived it by not caring anymore. I let it go.
Well, I've seen you perform. I know you're awesome, and I highly recommend it. SidesplittersComedy.com is where you get your tickets. Carl Labove, you are fantastic. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
it.
that.
All right.